like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order and get started. We have President Drummer, hello.
Hello.
Diane Tipple, Apple, hello. We have your budget. So if we get started, if you'd like to go over it with us.
Yeah, I'll walk you through
Sure.
page by page, like we usually do. For Steve and Kelly knows right where we go. So this chart just shows the college budget by funding source. So the student support at 26.82% is tuition and fees, basically for both credit and non-credit courses. The state support at 14.06% is just that. That's our state aid allotment. Sponsor support, 32.04%. And that's sponsor contributions. That's Columbia and Greene County sponsor contribution. And then our miscellaneous support, 27.07%. That's basically everything else, which is primarily charges to other counties, which is charges to students that reside outside of Columbia and Greene County that attend Columbia Greene. And then our appropriated fund balance is included in that miscellaneous support. Page 2 shows our allocated sponsor share by county. So the overall sponsor share is remaining flat, same as 22-23. The contribution for each county is based on the percentage of total student headcount per county, now using a 3-year average, which includes fall 2020, fall 2021, and fall 2022. This year, you can see the formula resulted in a decrease for Columbia County of 120,288, and then an opposing increase for Greene County of the same amount. Last year, remember, it was the opposite.
This is for 3 years. This is going to run.
No, this is the number using a 3-year average
That's what I
FTE
meant,
head
going
count.
back.
So the number will change. Hopefully this will mitigate the fluctuation in the change moving
Shows it
forward.
at 139, so she's trying to pass down.
So that was an update. from
That is an
Saturday.
update.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
That was without doing the average.
That's
And
what
I-
it would have
and
been.
Okay.
We agreed to use the average and start it this year.
Okay.
The 24.
Just seeing a discrepancy.
Yep, thanks for pointing that out. I'll make sure you have the right one. Everything else should be good. That was just the one page that changed. Yeah, so hopefully the implementation of that 3-year average is intended to mitigate the fluctuation from year to year and the amount of the increase decrease for each year. That should work out. This page is our page 2, actually page 3 is the summary of our revenue projections year over year. Just keep in mind, you're looking at budget to budget, not actual to budget. It does make a bit of a difference,
Yeah,
so
that's
I can
what we
explain
spoke
some of
about.
that as we go through it. So tuition and fees, the 23-24 proposed budget is based on approximately 875 FTE overall, which is fairly consistent with where we're projecting our actual numbers to come in 22-23, which is higher than what we budgeted in 22-23. So we're doing better in our tuition and fee revenue in our actual numbers than we had projected in 22-23. So that's why you do see an increase there. Also see an increase, we are proposing increasing our tuition, $144 per year, $72 a semester, which is a 2.8% increase. The projected average estimated tuition for all 30 community colleges, because we'd like to make sure that we're not pricing ourselves out of the market here. For 23-24, projected average is $52.91, slightly below that at $52.56. I can tell you that 23 out of the 30 community colleges were expected to increase their tuition this year, ranging from 1.9% up to as high as 10%. So
And we're raising it how much? 2.8.
it's 2.8%, which is $144 a year.
Okay.
Okay, you'll see the schedule on
Yeah, I
page
see.
4 sort of outlines the actual numbers and our fees associated with that.
Excuse me, what were the FTEs, the number of FTEs?
The budgeted FTEs for Yeah, sorry, 875.
875.
Yeah.
What is our tuition compared to Hudson Valley's?
I could tell you that. It's a little bit, I have that. Give me a second in this, oh, my green flags here. Hudson Valley projected, this was estimated, I'd have to check to see what they did actual, was 5,056. And we'll be at 5256, so $2 more
Where
we are. Yeah,
and just, comparing the two schools, no disrespect. but
yep.
Bigger school, much more to offer. How do we compare to that and be more money and be competitive? I'm just-
That's a good question. Harley, do you want to help me out with that?
I think,
I mean, if I were looking, no
Yeah,
disrespect.
yeah, no, I
If I was
understand.
looking at going to Hudson Valley or Columbia Green, and I would say, and this is more expensive, why wouldn't I
I
not
think,
go to
I
Hudson
think,
Save on the commute.
yeah, this is just my stab at answering your question, and that's because they are so much bigger than we are and have so many more programs to offer that their enrollment is way beyond where ours is.
Yeah, they have volume.
They have volume.
I get that, but do you ever hear like, this is this and that is that?
Oh, sure.
Oh, you
We
do?
don't hear cost, not so much
cost, it's
about
program.
cost,
It's
it's
program.
program, it's what they have.
Well, program I
to
get,
deliver.
I guess,
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
okay.
Chris is right, people don't want to commute that distance unless they're going up for,
A specific
advanced
program that you don't
manufacturing or
have,
something
yeah.
that we don't have.
On the data, paying your travel.
I guess my point is, you wouldn't want to get to the point where you price yourself out and then
I
you
agree.
can't
No,
compete with the other
No,
schools.
and especially now with our 50% of our classes are virtual. So,
Well, then.
there's no commute involved at all. So
How much
we're
do you know how much they're doing virtual?
probably even more, I would imagine. I don't have a number for that, but the certain populations that we serve are absolutely thrilled that we have virtual options now that we didn't before.
Although there's some things you really can't do that much.
That's
virtual
correct.
either.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't believe we raised our tuition last year. I think
No, we didn't.
flat.
I'm not questioning the raise,
No,
I'm just
I-
questioning the price differential between the
Yeah,
two schools.
yeah.
I would think that it
It's-
would be much
it's
more of a
volume.
gap.
Yeah, it's volume.
Thank you.
Anything else there before we move on? You can see, and I'll say our non-credit offerings, that number is increasing. I'm actually expecting our current year numbers to be even higher than that. So if that trends that way, we're doing much better in that space, offering more non-credit courses, as continuing ed type courses. This is our tuition and fee. You can, actually don't move on yet. We'll see that. Yeah, sorry.
Revenue.
Yep, state aid appropriations, so you'll see the governor's budget implemented or reestablished the funding floor, which is the greater of the per FTE calculation, which is $29.97 per FTE, or 100% of our base operating aid from this current 22-23 year. The number that you're seeing here reflects the floor. We would get less if we were to calculate based on the FTE calculation at this point in time. So that's a good thing that they've reestablished the floor. You'll notice that there's still a decrease. So despite the fact that we have the funding floor, community colleges who have less than 2,000 FTE are eligible for what's called a small college increment. The small college pool is 940,000. That stays consistent. The number of colleges sharing in that pool has increased, with 12 community colleges this year versus 10 last year. So our portion of that allocation got smaller. Last year, we had the same problem. In 21-22, there were only 6 community colleges that had less than 2,000 FTE. So you can see the trend on FTE. Everybody is struggling with enrollment, and we're suffering a little bit from that because we've always been below the 2,000 FTE. We've been receiving that small college increment for years. We've just received more than we currently are. We're sharing that with more institutions at this point. So that's the reduction year over year. Sponsor contribution, we already talked about, that's flat year over year. Charges to other counties, again, that's the amount that we charge counties for students that that attend Columbia Green who live outside of Columbia and Greene counties. So if we have a student that comes from Ulster County, we charge them what's called a chargeback.
Is that,
for
is that the
student.
same amount that we would be charged?
It's reflective, so there's a calculation for it based on your budget, and it's intended to reflect what the local share cost of that student is. That's what the formula is designed to capture.
Hudson Valley and other counties.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That averages about 165 FTE. We had a little more in last year's budget. It's not trending that high, so that's why you'll see the decrease there. The average is about 165 FTE. Private gifts and grants is just our college provides bookkeeping services for component units, the foundation and the association, and we bill that back to those component units. And then our other revenues includes real property rentals. We rent space to New York State Department of Labor in our PAC building. They pay for that. We also typically get a workers' compensation dividend, interest, and if we get our concert lecture series back up and running, that would be included in that other revenue section. Go back for just a second. Yeah, that's okay. I just want to touch on the appropriated fund balance. So that's the amount that we need to balance the budget between our revenues and our expenditures. I can tell you in 22-23, we are not going to use what you're seeing there, which is a good thing. So we'll use at least the HERF amount, my latest projections, and it's a very rough estimate because you just signed contracts for us, so we have some retroactive adjustments to make for payroll. It was a little difficult to calculate that on the fly, but I was projecting rough estimate, maybe 1.6, which would be a little bit more than the HERF funds that we appropriated. The good news is we are not going to use what you're seeing
Right,
there.
right.
What's the available fund balance?
We were started 22-23 with 5.8 million.
Better than where it was.
Well, I was gonna say, a few years ago, it was a really bleak,
Well, I will say in past years, one of the things that we have recommended, as well as the joint committee with Columbia and Green supervisors and legislators, was to build your fund balance, which you've done. And the other thing was to do more virtual learning, and which you've done.
Yeah, and we're working on, so we're watching this constantly, right? This is where I focus on fund balance. That's my job. Hey, Carly, will hear me all the time, right? We're working on the revenue side of our budget, right? So that we can support the expenditures that we have. Like I said, our continuing ed programs are picking up. We're working on building out our construction technology program. We have a grant to hopefully expand some space to be able to offer
Another
some more
grant?
programs in that area. So we're working on that.
And our enrollment trends are looking really, really good. Our summer, we were up about 165 students.
Do you have a grant for what do you have a grant for?
To expand our construction technology
How much is the
program,
grant? I'm
$1
just-
million.
it's $1 million grant.
We got that from.
That's not the one
Rivera.
that we got a year ago, is it?
You were at the,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That one.
Same one.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. it's
Yeah.
the same one. Right.
Any questions before we move on too far?
Well, I have a question. Last year you brought in a whole bunch of new technology,
Mhm.
which was, I think, $1.2 million, if I'm not mistaken, and we had a discussion in regards to that, how it would be helpful. Has it been helpful? Has
It
it worked?
has been helpful.
Incredible.
And then the question was, last year, I don't remember exactly how you paid for it, but you had a grant or you had something, and then the concern was how are you gonna pay for it moving forward? And how are we paying for that?
So we were paying for it out of our operating budget. You'll see last year we appropriated, I would say last year we used those HERF funds to compensate for the additional increase. We'll be monitoring again our revenues and expenses moving forward. That 2.9 that you're seeing there seems like it's high. I'm typically, so when I develop the budget, I develop a worst case scenario, tend to be conservative on the revenue side and also conservative on the expense side. Historically, we have not used the fund balance that we projected to use in the budget. I expect that to continue. we budget for a worst case scenario. We have, we have a full workforce budgeted at full capacity that, there's ebbs and flows in that. So there are things that come up, things that we think we're going to spend it on, things that we don't. So I think we're going to be okay moving forward, but we'll monitor that.
Can you just give us a quick examples of what you spent that technology?
Absolutely. So we recently had a presentation at our board level from our Campus Works on-site employee. We have installed, basically our infrastructure needed some serious upgrades. So we put 10 to 12-year-old servers. Our firewall was outdated. So we've, I believe to date, installed 7 switches. I believe we have at least 2 more in the pipeline at this point. And keep in mind, we didn't use the operating budget to purchase that equipment. We used other HERF funds that you're not seeing here that we had access to purchase some of that hardware to help us out.
And wasn't there also software? I thought there was that big number was a new software program.
So we purchased the software. They're going to and have already done, we're waiting for a review on that, what they call PRRs, Process Reimagine and Redesign. So they've met with every single department at the institution to evaluate how we're using that software, to make sure that we're using it properly, using everything that it has to offer, because it does have a lot to offer, and making sure that we're using it in the most efficient way.
How did that evaluation go?
The evaluation itself went wonderful. So we're waiting for the results and we're waiting for the implementation plan to find out how we implement the changes they might be recommended.
Because wasn't that they give like 24 hours to the students or something?
Yeah,
They could
help
just-
So that's another, separate from that, they did institute a help desk for both employees and students, which is working well.
Okay.
We've upgraded our Wi-Fi system throughout the buildings. It's been an amazing transformation in a year, very, very short period.
Physical security of our network infrastructure, making sure that we have cages on our switches so that not just anybody can access.
Yeah. Those were just out in the open,
Inadvertently pull a plug.
or purposefully pull it line.
You guys, just to remind you, you have a 3:30, so just letting you know. Not that I'm rushing anybody, but.
That was
Without
probably,
rushing it,
that was probably the hardest page, so I think we're good. Are you ready to move forward? Page 4 is simply just our schedule of tuition and fees that reflects the increase in the tuition. The only fees that we increased in the current year were the ones that were related to our police basic training program. There was a modest increase there. That program was new last year. After 1 year of running the program, the director of the program evaluated it and indicated that he needed to increase the fees to cover those costs. So otherwise that schedule remains the same. Page 5 is really just a high level summary of the expense side of the budget. Salaries reflect just the 2 recently negotiated contracts with both came through your board.
I did want to ask, is that just pay increases for the existing staff, or is there new staff that you're adding to that? Increase into that?
That would
It
be,
looks like a 5% across the board pay raise, and I don't know if that was negotiated.
it's primarily pay increases for existing staff.
Okay,
We have increased our part-time staff in our area of security. So we've beefed up our security a bit. Since we have a full-time director of security, not so much in the summer because it's quiet and there's not that many people on campus, but in the fall, having more security guards available and visible when there are students on campus. I think that's the only place that we may have increased.
okay.
Yeah,
We all know salary increases eat up a lot of fun.
they do. Listen, salary and benefits are
Yep, I
the
know.
biggest part of the budget, right? And the hardest to manage
Yep.
sometimes. So, benefits, let's see, I have,
Health insurance is the major driver there, right?
Yeah.
It is, and we've been doing okay. I have a 10% increase projected in health insurance. We are not gonna see that increase already. I can tell you, it's gonna be like 5.6%, with our newest negotiated rates.
What about admin? Where is that $200,000?
Admin,
Administration.
Administrator, yeah.
2470.
oh, what is that? Are you asking?
Yeah, the $200,000.
So that's by functional category. So that's salary, benefits, equipment, and contractual expenses. And that includes, I can tell you which areas specifically. Board of Trustees, which have very little expenses, our president, our VP for administration, Dean of Student Development, Dean of Academic Affairs, those areas, and support staff for those areas. And then any expenses for those areas. So our legal fees would be in there.
So that's payroll also.
Yep, it's payroll, benefits, and any contractual expenses that are associated with those particular areas. There are more details on the benefits on the next page.
The institutional services, what we want. I mean, 2480, one like just below it.
That would be computer information systems, so that's our IT, institutional research, and public information and marketing.
That would be
Okay.
like your IT staff salaries.
Yes, yep, and then any contracts, IT contracts that we have. Yep, software, things like that. Yep. This is just a breakdown of our benefits by particular type of benefit. You can see that if you combine the three retirement, we offer 3 different retirement plans. We have the New York State retirement, we have New York State teachers retirement for our faculty members, and then we have an optional retirement plan, TIAA. Retirement plans combined, all 3 combined are about 12% of salaries. FICA, Social Security, including Medicare, is statutory. Our workers' comp has been lower over the past couple of years because we've had less folks on campus, but we're pretty much back to, with the exception of a few faculty, everybody being back on campus. So I expect that may increase. We won't use the 75,000 current year, so I left it flat to compensate for that change. Again, I said hospital and medical. I had it in here budgeted a 10% increase. Now remember, 10% over what we're currently paying. So you're looking at budget to budget, not actual to budget, right? Tuition waivers is an employee benefit who have dependents that want to take courses at Columbia Green.
Right.
And then unemployment insurance, just in case. We don't have really now too many unemployment claims, just a handful, not amounting to much.
You're not self-insured, you have insurance for that.
We're reimbursed, we are pretty much self-insured for that, yeah, yeah. And then on the contractual side, so my goal here on the contractual side was to try to get as close to a flat line compared to last year's budget as possible. That was not possible in particular areas, particularly electricity, fuel oil, service and maintenance contracts. It's an area where if you have a contract on, let's say, some sort of buildings and grounds equipment, had to factor in some sort of a vendor increase there. It's not always possible to flatline those, but we did, and you'll see there is fluctuation between categories. So we tried to look at where are we spending. We looked at our trends, 3-year trends. Where are we spending the money? Where do we need to spend the money? Did the best we could to flatline it, but again, sometimes that's.
Electricity, $110,000 more.
Say that again?
Electricity.
It's trending that
That's what we saw
way.
last
So
year.
if you look, again, you're looking at budget to budget. And our actual numbers are gonna be higher than what you're seeing in the 22-23 column, so
I know
that's
when we
why.
did ours.
I know.
Last year, the numbers were crazy.
Yeah.
Where are we at now, Jim? Same way, still headed up.
Bad. We're way over it.
What is rentals? What is that?
That would be, so it's not a huge number. We rent like porta potties for
Oh,
the,
okay.
yeah. Tent, if we have our tent rental
And
for an
printing,
event.
is that just the machines you
If,
rent?
if we do off-campus printing,
Oh, okay.
brochures, things like that. Yep. And then equipment, the next page. Page 8. Again, tried to do the same thing there to keep it consistent year over year. Furniture and equipment isn't really furniture. Most of that is AV equipment for classrooms, which we've upgraded and we're trying to continue to upgrade and keep the latest and greatest, especially since we're offering some hybrid courses where students can come, either take the course online or come in and take the course in class if they have a preference. So we have some of those classes. Computer hardware is really classroom computers and some of those network switches we talked about earlier. And machinery and small equipment is primarily buildings and ground equipment.
Nothing with vehicles?
No vehicles. No, we actually only have one very old vehicle. We had, well, I shouldn't say that. We have trucks for B&G, but we don't have vehicles for employees. We reimburse mileage, or we're gonna look at possibly,
Lease?
yeah, or coordinating with like a rental company on state contract or something like that, but it's not been a problem to date.
Thanks.
Are you still contracted with a manufacturer in automotive? That's fine.
Yeah. Subaru, Toyota, we added Volkswagen. We have BMW and connections with Nissan.
Great.
Vehicle certification as well, to get everybody ready for the new onslaught of vehicles that don't have gas powered solely anymore. So,
So at one point, I thought maybe 2 years ago, Toyota was maybe thinking about pulling out or something, but then
we changed programs with Toyota. We had at the time, when I started in 2019, we had the Toyota, I forget the name of it,
T10.
T10 program, right, and it was complicated because the recruiting area was all the way down into Connecticut and into western Massachusetts, and we don't have housing. So it was very, very difficult to recruit students into that program. So we went with the Toyota Techs program, which is really a pipeline program from the high schools. And that's worked out very well for us.
that was my next question is how much are you talking with high schools right now to make
All the
sure
time.
some of those AP and some of those, college credit courses are applying to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So,
Ford and GM would be good to get too, so you can get some trucks in there.
yeah,
Bigger trucks,
that would be interesting.
some of the diesel.
But
We
we're
used
talking.
to have Ford.
Used to have Ford.
Yeah, I
did.
don't know what happened. Something
I'm not
happened
sure
with
either.
Ford. I'm not sure what the story on that is, but we are in conversation with Ichabod Crane. They have a new superintendent, of course, so we're gonna have to re-engage. But Principal Scholl is very excited about the possibility of auto tech pipeline. We started a pipeline program with Hudson High School last year. Had some bumps in the road, pardon the expression.
Mhm.
So we're trying to resolve those and move forward again with that. And then we're also trying to talk to Conic Hills for another partnership. There's a huge demand for auto techs, and at the same time, we're starting a licensed practical nurse program as well, which we got
big demand
grant
coming down.
money for. Yeah, so excited about
Used
that.
to be your
That used to be
one of
your
your
biggest.
biggest thing until Coleman Memorial kind of cut you back a little.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The new president, Dorothy Urschel, when she was chief operating officer, started talking to me in 2019 about the demand for LPNs. And believe it or not, it's taken us 4 years to get it off the ground.
Well, that's good.
The wheels in that are being turned slowly. So,
Okay, is there anybody else? I'm not rushing you.
no, you're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you all.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
Brought my umbrella thing. You might be able to follow this.
All right, we're gonna get started on the resolutions. Resolution number 1, 2023. I'll move it. Second. Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 2.
Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 2. Authorization to move it. Second. Motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
4, authorization of contract to assist in establishing a fair family caregivers program. Move it. Second. Second, all in favor? Aye. Carried. Number 5, authorization to accept.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Authorization of contract with Columbia County Care.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 7, authorization to amend the Department of Human Services 2023 budget.
Move it.
Second. Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 8, authorization for the Department of Human Services to establish a now vacant one.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 9, authorization to contract with Erica Wall for. Move it. Second. Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, authorization to contract with John Paul. Move it.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
We move on to safety.
Chairman, I have a question on this one, and I do apologize. I missed the public safety meeting, so I would imagine this was discussed there. So if they don't have New York State admittance, I assume they're doing some kind of clerical work in the office.
Right.
Things of that nature. They can't obviously go to court.
Right.
But
Okay. And then the existing salaries, the 105 and the 86.7 are the old ones. So once they move from the 65,000 to whatever the scale is, they'll be at the same pay rate as each other as new hires.
at the bottom of the scale, which is like 86.7.
Okay.
They will.
All right. Thank you.
So resolution number 11.
I'll move it.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 12, authorization of bill 1, emergency dispatcher. Second. Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. County government, resolution number 13, authorization to approve the shoebox. Move it. Second. Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. 15, authorization of the public hearing on August
Move it.
2nd.
Second.
Motion in the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Number 16, authorization to award the bid for snow, sand items. Number 1.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 17, authorization for the solid waste department to surplus 1 John Deere commercial.
Move it.
Second. Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 18, authorization for the solid waste department to transfer $15,000.
Move it.
Second. We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
19, authorization for the Director of Facilities to renew and accept new maintenance agreement with Accessibility Solutions, Inc. to service the
Move
elevator.
it. Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
20, authorization, the Columbia County Board of Supervisors declare itself lead agency on the project.
Move it. Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Resolution number 21, authorization for the Columbia County.
Move it. Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You see that go, Jim?
Because we went through that.
You notice it's not even here.
All right, number 22, authorization for the chair of the Columbia County Board of Supervisors to execute a memorandum of agreement with the United
Move
States.
it. Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The authorization to stockpile of structural steel as bridge removal projects be declared surplus and sent to village.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Economic Development, resolution number 24, authorization to hold a public hearing and report on.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Number 25, authorization to appoint Erika
Move
Cooper.
it. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Finance, resolution number 26, authorization to approve the proposed 2023-24 operating budget of the Columbia Green Community College.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any questions? If
Not a
not,
motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn? Second. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.